Oh, thank you. Welcome everybody to the, guess which number?
56.
55, 55th. The 55th annual meeting of the Harris Center for Conservation Education. I'm Jeremy Wilson, and I have the great privilege of being the director here. Over those 55 years, the Harris Center has truly had a remarkable transformational, I would say, impact on the Monadnock region. And I'm so thankful for all the work that's been done that really has kept this place or ensured that this place will be as wonderful a place to live as it was 30 or 40 years ago, and far into the future as well. So all things for a special place in the future. Today we'll be hearing from the board about some board announcements. We'll be having some special recognitions. We'll celebrate some milestones, some staff milestones. We'll present awards and have a few brief highlights of the past year. And then we'll get to hear from Rosemary Conroy, who is an extraordinary local artist. You can see some of her work up front. I feel like I can't tell whether the bear behind me is really mad or just happy. She's an extraordinary local artist who works mostly with wildlife and just does amazing things. So looking forward to that talk. Right now it's time for board announcements, and I have the privilege of bringing Michael George up. Michael has been on the Harris Center board for 7 years, I think. That sounds odd, but he was such a good director, or there were no other board members that would take his place, that he agreed to serve an extra year as board chair. So this is his second year as board chair. And Michael's really led us through some extraordinary times, and has been an amazing board member and a fantastic chair. So thank you, Michael.
So first, I want to thank my fellow board members, many of whom are here. So if you would, current board members, if you would just either raise your hand or stand up, please. I'd like just a quick round of applause for the board members who serve. I'll say a little bit more about the board members in a few minutes, but they really spend a lot of time and make a huge contribution to the work of the Harris Center. I also want to give special recognition to 3 outgoing board members: Beth Corwin, Katri Jackson, and Sandy Babachi. Those 3 board members and myself are all terming off of the board this year. And I just want to say special thanks for all the work that they've done and have been really helpful in our educational programs and financing and things like that. So thank you guys so much for your work. And now I'm just going to do the official board work of announcing the slate of officers for the new year. So if you would please, Brian Hutchings will be vice chair. Brian. Daniel, who's right here in front, is secretary. Ethan Harper Lentricchia continuing as our treasurer. And Tara Kessler will be becoming the board chair. So thank you. So I'm going to introduce Tara now, and I'm just going to read this because Amy did such a great job of writing this up. I couldn't possibly do this extemporaneously. So let me tell you a little bit about Tara. She has a BA in environmental economics and resource management, a master's degree in regional planning. She has put her education to good use as a land use and community planner in the Monadnock region for nearly 15 years, working on projects related to transportation, natural resources, energy, and the like. Her roles have included regional planner for the Southwest Regional Planning Commission, senior planner for the city of Keene, and most recently, planner paralegal for BCM Environmental and Land Use Law. She's also very involved throughout our community and with our school-based environmental education programs. She's the chair of our land committee, and I think you'll agree that she's going to be a fabulous board chair. So thank you, Sarah. And now I'm going to have Tara.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to stepping up to this position, but I'm remiss to see Michael go because he's been a tremendous leader. He's done so much in his tenure as board chair, but also as a member of the board. He was integral in overseeing the creation of the strategic plan for the Harris Center and in implementing it. And much of what was included in that plan has been accomplished, which is quite impressive. During his tenure, there was tremendous growth in the conservation research arm of the Harris Center. He and his wife, Kathy, had one of the first kestrel boxes on their property. And over 3 years, there were 13 fledgling kestrels, which is really cool. And he also, he also opened up his property to hold many events with the board and staff and other Harris Center initiatives, which is really generous. I think most importantly, though, he continued very graciously to serve for an extra year to oversee the open lodge construction. And that's a really huge initiative that's about to be complete in the next few months. So that's something to look forward to. And thank you, Michael, for taking that on. I think we're glad that you're not leaving entirely. You'll still serve on the development committee, which is good to have you sticking around. I think we'd like to not only thank you, but offer a small token of appreciation. There should be a gift nearby, which is a small token for all that you've done. But thank you so much for everyone. I'm just going to turn it over to Michael if he wants to say a few words.
I forgot to do this before, and I should have. So Beth, please come forward to get your hat and bandana. And is Katri or Sandy here? No? Okay. So we'll take theirs. All right. I went to the Monadnock Conservancy's annual meeting about a month and a half ago, and their chair, Peter Kenyon, was going off as chair of the board, and his little talk lasted 3 seconds. So I told him that I'm going to do one that's 20 times longer than that. So if mine comes in at over a minute, just, raise your hat. Anyway, it's been a privilege to have served on the board of the Harris Center with an incredible number of gifted and talented board members whose work, trust me, ensures that the Harris Center is well equipped to go forward in the coming days, months, and years. We're just a great group of people. And with new board members coming on, I just think that's going to continue. And in particular, I just want to observe that over the time that I've served on the board, I've watched the staff here and their contributions to the community, and they're really immeasurable. The work that the staff does in our schools, in our fields and forests, just all over the Monadnock region. Not many of us get the opportunity to look at our work as a calling. We have jobs, we enjoy what we do. Sometimes we don't enjoy what we do, but there's just not many of us that have callings. And I've observed that the work that the staff here at the Harris Center does really, by and large, looks like a calling to all of these people. And that just makes me incredibly joyful. So I just want to thank the staff of the Harris Center for doing what they do and what they continue to do. And finally, all of you, volunteers, contributors, program participants, parents, people I've met on hikes, people that I've met at Beer on Tap, people that I've met at on Zoom calls during the pandemic, just a whole bunch of people who participate in the Harris Center and support the Harris Center. I want to thank you for that. So I'm just going to leave you with this. If you're ever asked to serve on a board or on a committee or to simply make a contribution, please say yes. Say yes to a mission like this one, this mission that forges our connection to the natural world and makes the Monadnock region a part of the world that's just a wonderful place to call home. So thank you all very much.
That wasn't right. So I have the pleasure now of announcing our upcoming board members. We have 3 new board members starting their terms on November 1st. I'm just going to ask that when I say your name, if you could raise your hand just so we can recognize you. So we have Ed Mora from Marlborough. We have Karen Peterson of Peterborough. And we have Michael Rafferty of Keene. I look forward to serving with all of you. And I think at this point, it concludes the business portion of the meeting. I'll turn it over to Jeremy. Thanks.
We keep our business short. Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Michael. So if I had put this up when I started 12 or 13, maybe more years ago, here at the Harris Center, it would have been a very different size list. This place has really grown, and it's remarkable to see that. Just in the number of staff and obviously in the number of programs and places that we work. But the number of staff is a really telling sign. And it's exciting to see that growth over that period. We do have a couple staff recognitions I want to make during this meeting. The first is that we have a brand new staff member who started last week, just in time for our annual meeting. This is Mary Verrilli, and Mary comes to us, well, she doesn't come to us from Portland, but she recently moved to the region from Portland, returning back to the Northeast after, I think, 13 or 14 years, 15 years in the Pacific Northwest. Mary stewarded volunteers for the Portland Parks Department for 13 of those 15 years, and so has extraordinary experience that will help us with this new volunteer coordinator position. We're really trying to enrich and engage our volunteers more effectively across the board. We have a huge volunteer program, and it's been a kind of piecemeal organization of it, and we're hoping to make it a more standardized process or experience, maybe is a better way of putting it. Mostly a more engaging experience. So Mary, can you just raise your hand? You'll see Mary around. Well, welcome to the Harris Center. She came for the beer and bread. Apparently it's much better than Portland, Oregon. Each year we celebrate staff members who've reached their 5th year milestone. And for some, like me or Susie, that's a huge number. But this year we just have a couple people who are it's not a really high number, but we certainly appreciate them as staff members, even though they're relative newbies to the Harris Center. The first of these is James Newsom, and James is celebrating his 10th year at the Harris Center, and he works in the land program. We're celebrating his legal acumen, his love for the outdoors, and his huggability. It's an inside joke. Just don't try to hug James. He actually started as an easement monitoring intern. And then we picked him up as a staff member and has been with us since then. James was formerly our lawyer. Ooh. And he's an avid outdoor person, and that gives him great background to be a land protection specialist. And so, James, are you around?
Yeah.
Come up and see you. Our second staff milestone is Miles Stahmann, who's celebrating 5 years with us. It's hard to believe it's only been 5 years since Miles is so central to everything that we do. Miles joined us 2 weeks before the general lockdown of the pandemic. So for, I think, much of a year, he was the only person really coming into the office. So he created his own world of what to do or what we were. Miles is our finance person, but he does so much more than that. He is directly responsible for keeping these doors open and for everything running smoothly or mostly smoothly. So Miles, congratulations on, oh, sorry. If anyone's ever called into the Harris Center, they probably have received Miles' incredibly warm hello. And it just sets the tone for an organization. And we're so grateful he joined us, and we still are apologizing for that first year all alone. So the Harris Center has a legacy society. It's known as Bobcats Forever. And these are people who have thought of the Harris Center in their estate plans. And we're so grateful for the people who have been part of this group, and just want anyone who is considering this or who has done this to please let us know so that we can thank you today before it's too late. Just kidding. This past year, we received a surprise bequest from Regina Brinkhoff. Regina was a longtime resident of Hancock who supported the Harris Center for more than 30 years. I say more than 30 years because our digital records only go back 30 years, and we're not quite sure where the boxes are that show, but I actually suspect it was well over 30 years. Her bequest and those from others allow the Harris Center to sustain and improve our existing programs and adapt to new challenges as we move into the future. So thank you, Regina, and everyone who's a Bobcats Forever member. Sorry, I was supposed to switch the slides. There she is. I'm going to have John Benjamin, who is one of our teacher naturalists who mostly works with middle schoolers and high schoolers. John will not need to use the microphone. Whenever John is doing a program, you can hear him from anywhere on campus. So we'll mute him. John, if you could come forward to present our Teacher of the Year award, I believe.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Benjamin. I'm a teacher naturalist here at the Harris Center, and it is my pleasure to introduce the recipient of this year's Educator of the Year award. I had the privilege of collaborating for several years with Tina Ramsey, joining her third grade classes at Chesterfield School for a series of bird-themed lessons. I was extremely impressed to learn about Tina's extensive bird studies with her students. Far more than just a week-long unit, the students in Tina's classes investigated birds as an ongoing, in-depth study that served as a rich and exciting window into the natural world around us. Students learned about bird migration patterns, diets, nesting behavior, songs, and much more. Each student chose a bird species native to New Hampshire for a detailed research project, and the depth of knowledge the students had absorbed was evident in the posters they created, often featuring beautiful original artwork. I was happy to contribute to these studies with periodic classroom visits in which I brought materials from the Hare Center for the students to observe and sketch, including mounted specimens, nests, and feathers. It was always clear from the students' authentic engagement, thoughtful questions, and lively discussions how their previous work in Tina's classroom provided them with a meaningful background and context for our Hare Center lessons. Tina has also demonstrated a deep commitment to taking her students outdoors. Not only has she consistently taken her classes outside to the fields, forests, and other outdoor learning spaces at Chesterfield School, she has also rallied the assistance of the larger community to help her in her efforts to make her students comfortable spending time outside. She invited members of the local community to bring in their sewing machines and teach kids to use them to sew their own neck gaiters so they would be warmer while spending time outside in chilly winter conditions. Her efforts also extended to making wildlife feel at home. Tina additionally rallied volunteers to help her students build nesting boxes for bluebirds and probably tree swallows in the field habitats adjacent to Chesterfield School, as well as owl nesting boxes in the nearby woods. In the words of my Hare Center colleague, Jamie Hutchinson, when Tina sets a goal, she really goes for it. Tina has also contributed to professional development workshops organized by the Hare Center, including a 3-day summer teacher retreat and a series of after-school Zoom meetings in which she shared about her journey as an outdoor teacher and offered practical steps to other teachers for bringing outdoor learning experiences to their students. She additionally presented a Hare Center teacher talk on her bird-related teaching last year, helping to inspire other classroom teachers about the potential of incorporating bird-themed lessons in their classes. This year, Tina has begun a new chapter in her career as a reading specialist at Chesterfield School. While I'm sad I won't be working with her for the 3rd grade bird lessons anymore, I know she will continue to bring her determination, creativity, and passion to her new position to the great benefit of her students, and that her positive impact at Chesterfield School and the larger community will carry on. Tina has demonstrated a sincere dedication to outdoor learning and to sharing the natural world with her students, and has been an inspiration to her fellow educators, myself included. Please join me in giving a round of applause to this year's recipient of the Hare Center's Educator of the Year Award, Tina Ramsey. Thank you, Tina.
I'm very humbled to be standing here because of the incredible work that the staff here at the Hare Center does. And I'm really very grateful to the support and guidance and inspiration that they have given me. Like most teachers, I really just want to give my students my best and to continue growing as an educator and as a human being. I'm sure you know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, the same is true of teachers. It takes the support of a whole community for teachers to be able to give students their very best. So I want to start off really by thanking the residents of Chesterfield, including their school board, for the purchase of the adjacent land to extend our outside learning opportunities and inspire teachers. The Chesterfield Public School Foundation and the Friends of Chesterfield School are 2 organizations that have continued to support our environmental education endeavors. Our principal, Sharon Dion, has been, yes, please. Has been instrumental by regularly bringing in the Hare Center and Antioch University to provide amazing learning opportunities for our students and our staff. I'm so proud and grateful that my colleagues have embraced outside learning opportunities in more ways than I have time to share with you today. I especially need to thank my colleague and mentor, Laura White, for her personal support and guidance on my journey. You may not realize this, but for the past several years, some messaging to teachers has included just focus on reading and math. Don't worry about teaching the content areas. This is concerning to me for several reasons. First of all, science is not just content. It is a great deal more than a discrete set of facts about how our world works. Science is a set of skills and processes that allow people to draw justifiable and reliable conclusions. We cannot afford to raise a generation who does not understand how science works. Next, giving children the opportunity to experience the natural world motivates and inspires their curiosity and drive to learn. And that appreciation is often passed on to families. We can educate families about the value of the environment through their children. The motivation and curiosity that comes from experiencing nature is something that educators can harness. Getting children outside to learn about the world puts these math and literacy skills to work in significant ways. Integration of subject area adds meaning and value everywhere, including in the arts. Also, research shows that when it comes to reading informational text, knowledge of topic has a much bigger impact on comprehension than generalized reading ability. In other words, students with a background in the topic they're reading about understand and remember the text. So it behooves us educators to build a strong base of knowledge and experience in a wide variety of topics. In addition, research also shows that being outside in the natural environment helps people relax and become more available for learning. Being outside gives children a much needed opportunity to move. So many children are spending their free time on devices that, once again, it behooves schools to compensate by getting them outside. It teaches children how to be healthy adults, balancing technology with time outside and movement. So honestly, if we want to build better learners, mathematicians, and readers, getting children outside to experience science in real ways really builds those skills. I realize that I'm here singing to the choir, right? Hopefully this message of the benefits of embracing environmental science in real ways reaches the ears of those people with concerns about its value. However, I'm not quite done with thank yous. I really need to thank my husband for all of his patience and support, both in and outside of the classroom. Honey, remember the time we took the kids out to the woods with the big ladder to check on the owl boxes? And the squirrel jumped out and almost landed on my head? Yeah. I did not fall off the ladder. Finally, I need to give a really huge thanks to Janet, Jenna, John, and Jamie. If your name starts with J and you work here at the Harris Center, you need to know that your support has benefited hundreds of children and teachers in the area, myself included. Thank you all for what you do.
Not to mention, there's a table right in the adjacent room that features some examples of Tina's work. So I highly encourage you to check that out after the meeting today. Okay, that's a hard one to follow. Thank you, Tina. I'm Phil Brown. I'm the Bird Conservation Director and Land Specialist here at the Harris Center. And today I am proud to be presenting Volunteer Extraordinaire Awards to 4 incredible individuals. So the Harris Center is fortunate to have many volunteers. Oops, hang on a second. Which slide is it? There we go. Okay, there we go. Bald eagle. All right. We are fortunate to have many volunteers helping out with a wide range of projects and programs, including trail work, garden cleanup, administrative work, conservation research, and education programs, and even more things than that. So please join me in recognizing all of them for each of their significant contributions. So this year, we are recognizing 2 sets of volunteer extraordinaires. The first pair of awards will go out to Chuck Carlson and Tom Momeyer in recognition of their contributions through wildlife photography and raptor research. Tom is here today to accept his award, but Chuck is unfortunately under the weather and unable to make it. In recent years, the Harris Center, as well as many organizations, has had to adjust its messaging to reflect a changing world. Stories must now be told more succinctly and in catchier ways, and more must be communicated with less content, still without compromising quality. The use of high-quality images in particular is one of these ways. A snapshot of the organization's work is an essential tool in engaging supporters, recruiting new interest,
reaching a wider, more geographically dispersed audience. Chuck and Tom in particular stand out in how they've enabled this progress, especially as it relates to the organization's still fledgling bird conservation work. I met Tom Momeyer first, early in 2022. He was new to birding at that time, but he had a long interest as an avid hiker, paddler, and an outdoors person, and a deep connection to the conserved landscapes of the super sanctuary. He often joined Harris Center-led outings, and he began to document these adventures, especially his newfound love of birds, through the lens of his camera. Tom began to share his photographs with the Harris Center immediately and quickly found a receptive audience for his well-organized folders of high-quality images. Close-ups of bald eagles in flight and landscape images stood out early on, and as he continued to develop as a birder, this roll of photos and folders only grew. With an architectural background, Tom brings a meticulous and detail-oriented approach, organization, and best management practices for data management. During the spring of 2022, the first season of our Broad-winged hawk project, I invited Tom and a few others out to photograph hawk nests. Immediately, Tom was hooked, and he enthusiastically volunteered to keep an eye on these nests throughout the remainder of the nesting season. As soon as I saw his first photos, I knew we had an incredible new tool to share these stories with the public. Early in 2023, Chuck came onto the scene. That's one of Tom's images too. Chuck Carlson came onto the scene. He was an avid birder who recently moved from the Dallas, Texas area. Chuck and his wife, Chris, were eager to find a new birding community as they came to the Monadnock region, and they found it quickly within the Harris Center. Chuck began to attend Harris Center field trips, the first, I believe, of which was a coastal birding trip led by Harris Center board member Stephen Lamont. Yeah, that's one of Chuck's there, of Cooper's Hawks. Sporting the latest and greatest optical equipment and a lens as long as an eagle's wingspan, Chuck was always decked out and ready to capture the shot, full of enthusiasm and energy, and always with a great smile. By the spring, Tom had wrapped Chuck into the Broad-winged hawk project, and they teamed up as volunteers to keep an eye on several hawk territories and nests. The two friends were an inseparable duo in their pursuit of local birds, with each outing their portfolio and the Harris Centers, as a result of their generosity, grew. Each spring and summer since then, Tom and Chuck show up enthusiastically, ready to monitor and photograph nesting hawks. Their level of commitment and attention to detail has allowed me to focus on finding more nests and managing other projects and volunteers, effectively doubling our capacity. Tom and Chuck's hawk photographs have since been widely used and shared by the Harris Center and other conservation groups, providing visibility through our social media networks, website, articles, and much more. These images shed light on some of the most intimate moments of a rarely observed scene of a bird's life, without being invasive in its life. Further, their high-quality photographs provided us with crucial data related to nest site productivity, which is the number of young fledged, and timing of various benchmarks in the development of the chicks, this of which is best discerned through close-up imagery. Their unparalleled photographic record of nests helps the Harris Center remain a key monitoring partner in this international effort focused on the full life cycle ecology of broad-winged hawks. But their involvement doesn't stop there. When the fall comes around and we start counting migratory raptors at Pac Monadnock, Chuck and Tom turn their attention to photographing this spectacle and again generously share photos for the Harris Center's use. Believe it or not, those are Chuck and Tom under all those layers. Some photographers have had their fill of hawks by the end of September, but not Chuck and Tom. When it gets cold, they gear up for golden eagles for the later part of the season. Reliable and ready, Chuck and Tom always show up decked out with their warmest weather gear, cameras, long lenses, binoculars, and scopes, determined to get great shots, helping out with the counting and interpretation, and being an integral part of the community. Tom and Chuck are driven by their love of birds, birding, and contributing their energy, talent, and time to a cause greater than themselves. Their cheerful presence, welcoming camaraderie as photographers and birders, and high-quality documentation are a huge asset to the Harris Center. When I look back at their contributions, I truly cannot believe it has only been a few years that this dynamic duo has been sharing their photographs with the Harris Center. So Tom and Chuck, Tom, you can come up here. Thank you for your commitment, your sharing, and your friendship. All right. Would you like to share a few words? Okay, good idea.
That was quite a presentation. That bald eagle photo, after you take a few thousand of them, you tend to forget individual photos. So I'll have to go back and find that photo. But it's really great to be here today. And Chuck and I thank you both. Thank the Harris Center. We both thank you for the award. And Chuck helped me, and we batted about a couple of sentences or two. Chuck used to be a writer. I'm more comfortable out in the woods hiking and looking at nature. So we both love helping out with the Broadwing Hawk and Raptor observatory projects and seeing our photos used by which attract others to the Harris Center. We love the Monadnock Hawk Watch, especially when we can capture shots of distant raptors facing the raptor, not like the back photo, but and show them to people up close. It's fun to watch faces light up. That's what it is. So it's an image. And on a personal note, one of my favorite trails in the Harris Center Super Sanctuary is the Hiroshi Loop Trail in Peterborough, which is where I live, 10 minutes from my home. It's a great walk in all seasons where you might see and hear soaring hawks, playful otters, and watch waterfowl diving for dinner. So let's all get outdoors, walk slowly, stop occasionally, and maybe even get some great photos. Thank you.
The next two awardees, Stan Smith and Vic Starzynski, will now be introduced by my colleague Eric Masterson via a video message. Stan was a close personal friend of John Kulish and used to hike and hunt all over the Harris Center land with him. He and Vic have co-led a popular series of field trips for 12 years called In the Footsteps of John Kulish. Please welcome me in congratulating Stan and Vic on their achievement.
Hi, I wish I could be here in person to recognize Stan Smith and present this award to Stan Smith and Vic Starzynski for their extraordinary volunteerism on behalf of the Harris Center. I have notes, so if you'll forgive me. I was long gone by the time John Kulish passed. I joined in 2010, but I heard stories of his adventures on land that we now call the Super Sanctuary. And Vic and Stan really created, through their hiking series, following in the footsteps of John Kulish, they created a window allowing us to peer back to the early days of the Harris Center, which is kind of a neat trick as we turn 50. So thank you so much to Vic and to Stan for their incredible generosity in sharing their adventures and knowledge of the land and John Kulish's early days with a wider audience.
Okay, I believe Stan is here to accept his award. Stan, would you like to come up? Okay. Stan. Who's the love to Stan? Nice to meet you. Yes. Thank you. And Vic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, it's all yours.
We'd like to thank the Harris Center for this recognition. Recognition is unexpected when you're doing something you love. Before I continue, Eric says, don't be long-winded, and you'll know why. Vic and I do the hikes called In the Footsteps of John Coolish. Meade gave me a copy of John's hikes that he did when he worked for the Harris Center. And Vic and I have added a few new ones to it, and they were routes that John used while he was deer hunting. We told stories about John as on all our hikes. And the stories were told to us by two of John's best friends, Vic and Ziggy Starzynski. Ziggy is Bucko, Vic's father, and Big Vic was his uncle. So at lunchtime, we always stop and we have a champagne toast, real champagne, in honor of the three of them. Our hikes are rather long, usually 4 to 7 hours, and all bushwhacking. And one hike we took with Eric, we went to the White Swamp. There was just the three of us. And it took us 2 hours to get out to the White Swamp from Nebenusset and 1 hour to get back. And I said to Eric, how come it's so much quicker coming back? He says, because you talked for an hour on the way out. Stories about John that he never heard. I've been walking these woods for 64 years and Vic for 60. And we'd like to continue volunteering for the Harris Center in some capacity. We can probably make us hikes a lot softer and just do trails only. Yeah. Again, thank you for the award. Vic.
First of all, I want to thank you for having us here. It's truly memorable experience going. I'd like to thank my friend and my Stan, aka Smitty, in partaking and giving hikes and ensuring the safety of the people, and also sharing our stories with them. It was truly a memorable experience for me, and I'll never forget it. Thank you.
I'm pleased to present the 2025 Lori Bryan Partnership Award, which honors former Harris Center Executive Director Lori Bryan's achievements in working with our community partners. Like the Harris Center, the Conservation Fund is in the business of conservation, creating innovative solutions that drive nature-based action for climate protection, sustainable economics, and vibrant communities. For more than 40 years, the Conservation Fund has been buying at-risk land with high conservation values to protect it from degradation, putting protections in place to ensure it is managed for environmental, economic, and human gain, all before finding long-term owners. They have worked across all 50 states and conserved more than 9 million acres of irreplaceable American landscapes, protecting habitat for countless species, supporting millions of jobs, and providing communities across the country with a better quality of life. This critical work uniquely positions the Conservation Fund to tackle some of the country's greatest challenges, from climate solutions, wildlife protection, rural economic development, and even access to fresh and healthy food. Their work in conservation is about more than protecting the special places. It's also about ensuring that these places will always be healthy, vibrant, and productive to a large and resilient society. The Harris Center has worked closely with Sally Minian, the Conservation Fund's New Hampshire and Vermont State Director, over the years on several large projects within the super sanctuary. Some went nowhere. Others are being protected by other conservation organizations,
notably the majority of the Monadnock paperland being conserved with New Hampshire Fish and Game. And another project, which I'm not going to mention by name, is kind of up in the air. Hopefully we'll know more in 5 or 6 months. Our fingers are still crossed on that one. Sally brings to the table an understanding of land conservation based on various perspectives and voices. Outside of her day job with TCF, Sally serves on the board of New Hampshire Land Trust Coalition and the New Hampshire Grassroots Fund. She's a published essayist and writer, a contributor to Appalachia Journal, and the editor of Appalachian Mountain Club's Guide to Outdoor Leadership. Sally's regional leadership has been featured in Northern Woodlands Magazine as New Hampshire Public Radio. And she is an avid sled dog trainer and racer. Sally's knowledge of conservation, coalition building, funding sources, grant writing, and her ability to create and foster relationships across the state and beyond make her an invaluable partner, and whose efforts are the reason I am so pleased and honored to award the 2025 Lori Bryant Partnership Award to Sally Manikian and the Conservation Fund.
I almost teared up a little bit. That was pretty incredible. I can't thank you enough. I'm also glad he did that, because then I didn't have to do a whole pitch about the Conservation Fund and who we are and what we do. Like, he got that all covered, because all I really want to say is that I've worked at the Conservation Fund for 10 years. I'm a lifelong New Hampshire resident. And the Conservation Fund, our organizing principle to achieve everything that James said we just did, is through partnership. Like, my coworkers are our partners around the state, around the region. And to receive an award recognizing that partnership, it's the biggest compliment I can receive. Even though Eric said I'll get something to hang on the wall, I'm like, I want to hang this on my wall. This is what I want. I want to look at this and get that same little well of warmth that I got when I just heard what James said. So I can't. And it's a joy to work with everyone here at the Harris Center and the wider community that makes all this work possible, because it's just a joy to work with the Harris Center. And I've just so enjoyed the last few years swinging at things that didn't work, hoping some things do work. And I've just really appreciated the utmost dedication, the passion, and just sometimes making me look really good. So thank you so much. And it's a joy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. You got help. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick review of a few highlights from our different program areas over last year. Just to give you a sense of how minimalistic this is, the Harris Center and our community programs. So that's just a portion of what we do. It's our outward reaching programs that you see in our calendar of events. We had 170 events last year. Just to give you a sense of how much is going on. So this is just a brief peek into a few of the Harris Center's accomplishments last year. So in the schools, this is South Meadow School in Peterborough. 6th grade students discovered how broad-winged hawk migration connects our region to South America and many points in between. Teacher naturalist Karen Rent created a curriculum unit that followed Skatutikee, a well-known hawk for dive bombing people. A tagged broad-winged hawk as she made her way south from New England in the fall. Students learned about broad-winged hawk ecology and nesting locations, why they migrate, and how geography is their roots. We're also tied into this study as well as all of the students to the Monadnock Raptor Observatory to see the migration in real time. Again, in the schools, this is nature journaling at Wheelock School in Keene and Pierce School in Bennington. Throughout the year, Jenna and Z guided students through various games and activities, all related to nature observation. And these explorations were then followed by quiet journaling. students' observation, skiing as they explored the forests and fields near their schools. Our goals were to build students' writing skills and support their natural curiosity and to develop connections to the local environment. These are adults, by the way. We're in the schools, we're also putting a great deal more effort into professional development for classroom teachers. Throughout the school year and into the summer, the Harris Center offered workshops for local teachers who were interested in developing their nature-based teaching skills and knowledge of the natural world. Teachers discovered how to create an engaging schoolyard bird study, how to find signs of the local mammals in their school neighborhood, and a variety of techniques and games for engaging very young children in outdoor exploration. Participants left these workshops with ideas for connecting their students to nature through writing, sketching, data collection, and pretend play. Across the year, we reached 50 teachers. Each of those teachers reached 20 to 25 kids. In 1 year, over their career, they'll reach many, many more. It's a great way to expand the reach of the Harris Center. All right, moving on to community programs. In community programs, we had partnerships with Keene organizations, including the Keene Rec Department, Keene Public Library, and Cheshire County Conservation District to offer programs and events for Keene youth and families, such as after-school programs like Yeti Club and Lab Girls. We did some programming with new partners, including On Belay, which is an organization dedicated to empowering children impacted by family members with cancer, and Elevate Youth, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering city youth through transformative outdoor experiences. And throughout the year, we grew our accessible programming for all events like the Birding for All nature walks. This one's with the Keene Vet Center, and programming with life care facilities, including Rivermead, Scott Farrar, Covenant Living, and American House. On the land side, we just heard about Sally Manikian, but with Sally and the Conservation Fund and New Hampshire Fish and Game, we've helped to build a new 1,000 plus acre contiguous cluster of conservation land in eastern Hancock and Antrim. I didn't even know where eastern Hancock and Antrim were before these projects. This is an area we'd only worked in sporadically previously. We have already conserved additional land that is contiguous to this cluster, and there's more in the works. So there's great news from the far reaches of eastern Hancock and Antrim. As our conserved lands have grown, so has our monitoring challenges. We have 130 easements to keep an eye on. Sometimes this work involves really fun finds, like this black-billed cuckoo nest, which is an incredibly rare find. It's by Kate McKay, who's one of our land interns, and it's on the Leland Conservation Easement, which is on Route 123 in Hancock. Phil, what did you say? Black cuckoos are some of the fastest fledging birds, 10 days? Yes. 10 days to fledge, and they're big songbirds. This is we had a great year with our internship program with Keene State College. So the 4 interns on the left were part of our Keene State College crew this year, who explored our land and did an incredible assortment of work for us. And then our land interns are to the right for the previous summer. Kate was also a bird intern, so she did double duty and is currently our staff on the Hawk Watch most days up at PAC. On the conservation research front, it was a record-breaking year for our salamander crossing brigades. There's nearly 400 volunteers. Sort of explains why we need a volunteer coordinator. Provided safe passage for 11,650 migrating amphibians across 23 towns. This brings our total to 97,000 amphibians rescued since 2007. We also partnered with the city of Keene for another season of Big Night road closures, providing safe passage for amphibians and a safe place for elders, families with small children, and others to witness the magic of migration. Even more exciting, we are now working with New Hampshire Fish and Game and the city of Keene to plan New Hampshire's first ever amphibian tunnel. This site was chosen specifically because of our community science program and the long history of data collection there. In the third season of the Saw-Whet Owl Banding Project, our team banded 148 saw-whets on Harris Center land, enriching our understanding of this climate vulnerable species. With the installation of 4 new nest boxes in 2025, our American Kestrel project has now grown to 49 boxes in 20 Monadnock Region towns. This year, 5 of those boxes produced a total of 21 young. Thanks to a new partnership with the Vermont Institute of Natural Science, 10 local kestrels were also tested for lead and rodenticide poisoning. And all 21 of the new fledglings were banded. We also worked with hawk mountain biologists to affix cellular transmitters to 2 broadwing hawks. A third hawk is still transmitting data, this is Skatuticki, I believe, from a tag affixed in 2022. This provides invaluable insight into the annual migration between southwestern New Hampshire and South America. We are now in the midst of our 21st consecutive season of fall hawk migration monitoring from the summit of PAC. This is Phil releasing a rehabilitated raptor just a few weeks ago. And then finally, community scientists participated in our biodiversity in the Super Sanctuary iNaturalist project have now recorded more than 7,000 observations of 1,500 unique species on Super Sanctuary. All of this work helping to understand how global change is impacting our local environment and communities. We are so grateful to all of you, our supporters, who make these highlights, and maybe more importantly, make the rest of all the work we do possible each year. Okay, so there's a little more updating to do. You may have heard about an open lodge and grounds revitalization. We've had a few delays. So we've had weather delays, cold, too much rain, too little rain. We've had engineering delays, we've had contractor delays, and we've even had self-imposed camp delays because we didn't want activity during our camp weeks. However, we are truly making some progress. You can see the pad for the open lodge has been prepared. We're working on there's the concrete. You can actually go down and take a look at this after the meeting. We even have timbers being prepared in Caleb Niemela's shop in Dublin. In terms of the grounds revitalization, it's really about making what is an incredibly multi-tiered campus. That's been very difficult and challenging for people to move around, to make that more accessible to everyone. And so you can see the ramp right outside of us here is going to get people down to the open lodge area. We're also working on a ramp to the fish pond field and a ramp on the east side of the building, which probably very few people have seen. How many people have seen this? So that's the solarium up above, which was part of the old estate here. And then we call it the Bobcat Lair down below. It's kind of our prison for bad campers. Actually, not for bad campers. We finally captured the pesky trail dragon, and we've locked him up in the Bobcat's lair. This is one of Jack McWhirter's, so the dragon's named Jack, carvings. It was out on the trail and it collapsed a few weeks ago, and so we brought it in and brought it under cover And it's in the Bobcat's lair where we tell stories and the campers accumulate. But it's a great part of campus, and there's a whole nother trail that's been developed on that side to get people from the field parking to the open lodge when that's available. So I am going to turn it over to Susie at this point, who's going to introduce Rosemary.
Hi, everybody. It is my pleasure today to introduce you to this year's annual meeting keynote speaker, Rosemary Conroy. Many of us know Rosemary for her vibrant wildlife paintings, from whales and bears to owls and turtles. Her artwork celebrates the beauty, wonder, and mystery of the natural world. She self-describes as an artist obsessed with what our wild world has to offer. She doesn't just paint animals, she researches them and spends time with them when possible, like swimming with whales and tracking polar bears. Her work is joyous, profound, and heart-achingly beautiful. Not surprisingly, Rosemary has a deep and long connection to the Harris Center. She has been a board member, a former Wolves Nest camp counselor, and an event leader. In fact, in November, she's our featured Lab Girls mentor, sharing her expertise with middle school and high school girls on how to draw wildlife. She has, on more than one occasion, donated her art to our building, making the Harris Center beautiful from inside out. Before becoming an artist, Rosemary was the Forest Society's communication director and was one of the original founders and voices of New Hampshire Public Radio's Something Wild. You could say Rosemary has been celebrating nature through writing, talking, and creating since she arrived in New Hampshire, making our state all the better for it. And just one more thing, don't get stuck in traffic with Rosemary and me, because you might end up talking like this, because we're both from Brooklyn, and as Brooklyn people, we know that the best things come out of Brooklyn, right? Anyway, let's give Rosemary a big round of applause.
And I was, really at the bottom of my young 20s existence. And we were wandering the park looking for shady types. And all of a sudden there's a group of people in the corner, and they were looking a little, they were a little offbeat. And one of them called out to me, this gentleman, and he said, hey, do you want to see something? Now, that's the young woman growing up in Brooklyn, New York. If a man says to you, hey, do you want to see something? Never say yes. So then, But he looked kind of harmless, and he was with this group of people. And so I went over, and he had a pair of binoculars. They were bird watchers, which I'd never encountered bird watchers before. He's like, here, look at this. And they need his binoculars. Looks. And I looked up, and there was a rustic roast beef sitting in a tree, and it blew my mind. I just could not believe, anything so beautiful, so fragile, so just exquisite could be in Brooklyn, and on this tree. And they were like, oh yeah, you have to come along. You have to join us on this trip and learn about these things. And I did. It was just like a miracle. It was like, when Dorothy leaves Kansas, and she's in that house and it swirls, and then it lands, boom, in the land of Oz. And it's, instead of munchkins, there were songbirds and swans with babies. And it was just so mind-blowing. It was like the world had suddenly become so much more colorful. And I became obsessed. I became obsessed with birds. And I had seen pigeons and sparrows and seagulls, but it was nothing like this anymore. I had no idea that New York City was a peak migration spot. It's like on the flyway, and millions of birds fly through it every year. No idea. And I happened to be there in the right place at the right time, and it was a life transforming experience.
Thank you, Rosemary. That was wonderful. I just had a few announcements before we wrap up. Please check out Stahmann, our teacher of the year, our educator of the year, has a table with her projects featuring her students' artwork. And that's right next to the Harris Center swag table for a frame early Christmas holiday gifts. In the Babbitt room and in the front hall, there's an art exhibit. So all around us, there's, when you say more than one art exhibit here. Beyond Rosemary's work, there's also an art exhibit built up the Lone Mountain Artist Group. This is a group that for years and years has been coming here every Wednesday and working together right in the Loons room. And we're bringing this amazing energy to the Harrison. And we always know they're here because there'll be this enormous swell of laughter from the windows. So we didn't even realize they had been moved. So info about the Lone Mountain Artists and the art that's displayed, you can find that in the back of the Babbitt Codes. Next year, we'll be holding this meeting in the Eleanor Briggs Open Lodge, right down in the old tennis court area of the Harris Center. Miles and John Hodger will be on hand on the front deck, the bridge, to get us to the front door, to point out some of the progress that's been made so far and some of the plans that are in works. Thanks so much to Erin C. von Mertens for providing her amazing herbal concoction. And the flowers. With health benefits. and for awesome fall flower displays. Somehow Fancy can put together the flower displays that look amazing. Nah, it only isn't. When everybody else's garden looks like a bunch of dried flower to 8 smalls up. Thank everyone for coming. So hope the rest of your weekend it's great and research. It's so nice it seemed everyone. Thank you.